starting to work on, or maybe had just gotten commissioned to do the Infamous album, and he told me, I got a joint that I want you to work on. Time passed, maybe like, that was like 94 when he, early 94. And so maybe it was like later that year, maybe a whole nother year later when we finally, made it happen. That was at Platinum Island. I remember that because Platinum Island had doors that looked like freezer doors, like when you go into the industrial, the doors were like metal. It was just weird things that I remember, but Platinum Island was a hot studio that I've done a lot of work at. Went in there. P wasn't there. I think P was sick, but it was Havoc, Maddie C, and Tip. And I went in, they told me, I went in and did the song. And again, like I said, my whole thing was like, get in, get out. Like, let me get in and get out. I don't want to be there all night, get my money, go in and register my song with after and be out. But that was a fun session. And there was a lot of hype about Mobb Deep's project before it came out. I didn't know, at the time to the extent like, man, there's like all of these legends on this project, like in terms of hip hop. I didn't know about any of that. I'm just, again, let me go sing this song, get out. And, when it was mixed, I never forget, Maddie and I became really good friends. We're still really good friends to this day. I just hung out with him a couple of weeks ago. And I remember he and I were going uptown to go to Chimo Du, who did all of the artwork, the photographer, rest in peace, Chi, to go and check out the artwork. So I was going with him. And we were in a cab, and he played the mix. So when I did the song, I knew I was doing the hook, but I did not think that he was going to use like that whole 2 minutes at the end. Like there's like a whole literally 2 minutes at the end of just me singing. I definitely wasn't expecting that. I was expecting them to, let me take this little riff or this little thing and put it together, whatever. So again, I'm a perfectionist. That was a one take Jake type thing. I didn't do 2 and 3. I did that one time. He told me what to sing. I did the hook. And then he said, okay, just do some ad libs. So I just, like all of that at the end, that's just me freestyling. So I heard the mix. Okay, and let me say this too. In the 90s, there was a certain, just like, okay, that there was a certain sound for a snare in the 90s. It had that snapback to it, right? Mm-hmm. That was a very distinctive sound to it, especially Tip, right? So the same way there was a distinctive sound to drums and snares and things like that in the 90s, there was a distinctive sound to vocal effects in the 90s as well, right? So here I am, this singer. I'm a singer, right? And I know singing. And, this is the effects I use on my voice, and don't put no compression and no gate. And I'm very particular about how I want my sound to reflect my voice in the 90s. So this song was before his time. Basically, he was mixing my voice, and the effects he used on my voice in 95 is very similar to today. Whereas back then it was more of a chorus, more of a big room. Am I making sense to you?
Yes.
There's a certain sound or effect that you would put on the vocals. So I'm listening to this mix and I'm like, this is effects you would put on a rapper's voice, not a singer's voice. And I'm listening and I'm like, oh God, I don't like the effect. So I'm like, okay. Then the end, and I'm hearing runs to me that I was like, oh, that is sloppy. Oh my God, he kept that on there. Why didn't he have me come to the studio? I wouldn't have had this in there, because again, I'm the singer. He was looking at me like, you're crazy. He was like, you don't like it? He calls me Style, right? Because around that time, Chris Style, because so he started calling me Style, him and Skyfree. He was like, you don't like it, Style? I was like, no, why did y'all leave all of that on there? I'm like, oh my God, this is not a good representation of me. I was heated. I did not like it at all. But guess what? I was so wrong. I was wrong. I had to get used to it. I was not expecting 2 minutes of my vocals. That caught me off guard. And I guess there were things that were perfectly imperfect that, me being critical of myself, I wouldn't have left in. But in hindsight, like that's the song that I get people like, oh my God, I learned so much as a singer from you and your riffs. And I'm like, okay, Tip is who he is for a reason. And I was wrong on that one. He basically saw something I didn't see in terms of the sound that he put on my voice. And even in terms of leaving that whole thing and letting it rock out, I was not satisfied, but I was wrong. And I realized I was wrong not too long after that. It was hot.